Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blogtalk Radio.
Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Closer Encounters, the show where you, the listener, is also the guest. I am your host, Clarence Mitchell, coming to you live from somewhere in Minnesota. Closer Encounters is streaming live from Blogtalk Radio. We are also live on Facebook, YouTube, and Google Hangouts. For all of our newest updates, check us out on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Closer Encounters Radio. Don't forget to like, follow, and share. Would you like to be a special guest on Closer Encounters? Or do you know somebody that would like to be a special guest on Closer Encounters? Then just shoot us an email at closerencounters.info@gmail.com. That's closerencounters.info@gmail.com. Have you ever witnessed a UFO? Or seen something that you just cannot explain? Or maybe you've had your very own closer encounter. You believe in the ancient alien theory? We talk about this and much, much more. If you have a story, or maybe a question that you would like to get answered, give us a call. The number here is 347-989-1008. Again, the number 347-989-1008. Give us a call here at Closer Encounters. I'd love to talk to you.
Okay, well, hello and welcome back everybody to another episode of Closer Encounters, the show where you, the listener, is also the guest. It's been, about 3 weeks, I guess, give or take. And I know it's been kind of hectic and kind of crazy, but the way things have been going lately, I've been having a lot of internet issues and yada yada yada, and of course working and all that stuff. So, hopefully everything's going to work tonight. We do have a live stream up on Facebook, and I thank everybody that's here so far. Hello to Gail, hello to Christina. Glad to see you with us. We do have a guest coming on tonight, and we're going to try something a little different. We're going to do it via Skype. With him on the video, and I will take the live feed that I have, and we're going to kind of point it at the screen so you guys can see who I'm talking to, and hopefully everything's going to work out. In the meantime, let me bring up Tim here. I think this is Tim that's with us. Hello, Mr. Collard. You with us, sir?
Hello, sir. How you doing this evening?
Good, good, good. Can you hear me okay, Tim? Does it sound okay?
Yeah. The sound is actually better than it has been at past probably 5 or 6 shows. The sound is excellent.
That's fantastic. Good deal. The reason why I'm asking reason why I'm asking is because I had to actually hardwire everything into the modems and all that stuff, where before a lot of it was wireless. So hopefully, hopefully it's going to be taken care of. So.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I can definitely tell the difference right now. You know, it's very good.
Good deal. Good deal. Okay. Well, tonight's show, basically, we were, we plan on, we probably will anyway. It's an hour and a half long, as you know, and we're going to talk about some new stuff that's been discovered, some new updates that have been going on. I have a very special guest with us tonight. His name is Jeffery Boyd Jr. He is the founder and the head man of the Independent Research Society, which is a group that I just got hooked up with. And I'm going to try to bring him up here on Skype. Let me see if I can get this up and running here. We're going to beep, beep. We'll see how this works. Let me know if it echoes back or anything, if you would, please. Hello.
Hey, buddy.
Yes, how we doing, Jeff?
You know me.
Cool.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, can everybody hear it? Is it echoing or anything? Does everything sound good?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Hopefully we have no electronic disturbances.
Absolutely. I'm going to move the.
Can you hear me?
I'm going to move the live feed down here. We're going to see if we can get this set up so everybody can see who I'm looking at here. I'm watching it also on another laptop here just so I can. So bear with me, folks. We're going we're going to get this.
I've been using my laptop now just to set my phone on.
Cool.
Microsoft has been jacking with everybody. I'm not upgrading though.
Well, I hear you.
Yeah, they're funneling us all into the same program. I don't like it. Looks like everybody's trying to look for a different platform right now.
Oh, ain't that the truth, though? I'm telling you, it's been getting crazy. I like Blogtalk for the simplification of the studio that I have that's set up with it. But I tell you, it's been so glitchy lately. It's been terrible for us.
Yeah.
So
it has on just about every platform, and they Spreaker is always really stable, but it like the new Skype and the old Skype, you can't even talk to people who haven't upgraded yet. You can see them, but you'll be on separate lines, and it's just all screwy.
Exactly. Okay. Well, Gail, everybody says it sounds good there. I'm looking at it here on Facebook. We got a good picture. It's a little small, but you can see it. So, yeah, doing good. So, thumbs up. Good deal. We have with us on the phone also Jeff, a man by the name of Tim Collard. He's been with us a very long time, and I'd like to introduce you to him and all the other folks out there.
Yeah. Who's on the phone? I didn't hear what name you said.
Tim Collard is his name. Yep. Cool. Good deal.
All right.
All right.
Tim,
We going live yet? Are we already there?
Oh, guys, it's kind of. I like to
Letting people trickle in.
and
Yes.
to express my opinions on this.
Yeah, I shared it over to a few groups, so there should be a pretty good amount coming in. I shared them about 30 minutes ago to a few groups.
Okay. One thing I got to take care of here. We're not hearing Tim as loud as we are you. So let me see here if I can bring him up a little bit. And is there a way to...
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you, Tim. I don't think he can hear you, though, because...
No, I can't.
I'm wondering if I can bring the sound...
I can hear him through your speaker. It sounds like...
Can you hear him through the... Can you hear him through the speaker, Jeff?
I think a second ago I could hear him just through one of your speakers you have there, but not through my headphones.
Okay. Let me try and move this speaker up just a little bit without knocking everything over here.
All right. Yeah.
Tim, you want to try to say something there, bud? And we'll see if he can hear you better.
Check, check, hello, testing, 1, 2, testing, check. Hello, hello, hello.
Just barely.
4.
Just barely. Yeah. See, that's
Testing.
Can you join a normal call into a Skype conversation?
Yeah.
I don't know how they always do that. Usually,
I don't know
if
either.
Skype goes bad, they'll switch it over to the phone number.
Yeah.
I've been on the I'm not ever on the production end of it.
Exactly.
Right.
Alrighty. Gee whiz. Tim, do you have Skype at all or not? Or
No,
No?
I do not.
okay.
No, I just seeing what I can get going on here online. I'm on Facebook and I see what is his name? Steve?
Jeff. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff.
Yeah.
I see him there.
Okay.
There you are.
Yeah. I'm going to bring the microphone a little closer to the speaker itself. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah. I think it might, because I could barely hear him every time he talked. I can't hear what he's saying, but I can just hear his voice.
Well, I try not to mumble. I'll try to speak up and talk clearly, as clearly as I can.
I wonder if there's a way I can join it.
Well, we got everything. We have audio, we have visual, we have everything good here. It's just a matter of getting everybody to hear it better.
Right.
We got one side.
We're streaming live right now?
Yes, we are. Yep, we're streaming live.
Yeah, but
And you are on.
we got the Independent Research Society and Tammy, Ildine, Carolyn, Matt. Everybody's here.
Cool.
Or they said they were. We're in the live data stream also on the Society page. And on the Ancient Aliens Worldwide page and archaeology groups.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Tim.
Okay. All right. It's just the link with
I would see the old. I like the old way better, and even the Skype before it. We could actually sit there and text to each other, so we could talk to him even on a different platform.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Through text. Yeah, but they funneled everybody into this new one. It has a totally different interface. It's hard to even tell who anybody even is anymore. I couldn't even sign into my old account once I upgraded. It made me sign up for another Microsoft account. So they're trying to funnel everybody into one thing. And one of these other platforms is going to come out with something that's going to be some competition for it. But I think it's just more people need to start using it more. So it'll, like Zoom and different things we're looking at, Google Hangouts.
Right.
Because now we've so many shows, and it's just like 50% of the work or more is trying to keep a stable signal. And I'm not sure how much of that is actual interference from other people, because they said it yet on the show yesterday. It just seems like shows that are on Bigfoot or on something that's even further fringe, there doesn't seem to be any technical problems. But when you start giving like government document numbers and things like that, somehow audio and video will disconnect and all kind of crazy stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. We've had the same problem here many, many times, haven't we, Tim?
Yeah, like with Karen Christine Patrick on Aquarian Radio, we tried to premiere Portals of Knowing 3 weeks in a row, and since then I've been hearing the same thing she has, like sound of somebody hammering, sipping coffee or something, and or playing my own voice back to me. It's not even a lag. It's a different recording. I'm like, what am I listening to? And yeah, that's a little distracting.
Yeah, it is. It sure
Yeah.
is. Cool. Okay, well, being we got you here and so far so good, how about if we get you to tell us what the Independent Research Society is all about and what you're all about, and I'll let you have the floor and do your thing there, Jeff.
Well, and now you're in the Research Society, and I mean that's what it's about. We everybody's got their own piece, and so many researchers, like you've got Evan and Stephen Strong and Ildy and everybody down in Australia, and I didn't know those pieces. It's not taught in our schools. They're trying to crank out more consumers. That's really all they're trying to teach. They don't really care if you actually learn real history, and they even tell you in class that history was written by the victors of war. So they tell you it was fictional stuff written for agendas, and it's always been adjusted, and then they wipe out the people before, and our history gets shorter and more skewed. And so now we've got researchers and it started with me just having some research I was doing on the pyramids, some research I was doing on resonance technology, morphic genetic resonance studying like Rupert Sheldrake. And so I was across many different subjects, the plasma electric model of the universe and all that. And so it was across so many different subjects that I wanted to make, one society that all of those things, I could post my writings. I could turn all the stuff that I had written and put it in post, and then it's forever there. But it's been amazing. Now, even though we've got 2,200 people or something, we've got so many radio hosts and so many researchers, archaeologists, physicists. So we've got the truth seekers and the truth speakers. And when you get everybody else's little piece of the puzzle, it starts answering questions, and the research just speeds up, and it's no longer like a theory contest the way it was. But eventually I want to grow it into a foundation to where independent researchers can come to us for, financial support, anything they need, but it's gone worldwide now, and we've got that good base of, our core people, of our radio people, TV, documentary filmmakers, and researchers, you name it, even John Anthony West, all the way to Dave Cruz and Clarence Mitchell.
Oh, looks like we, hang on, I got to get my Blogtalk. See, Blogtalk just booted us here, but we're still live on the others, so we're okay. Hang on here just a second. Let me see here if we can get this up.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
I just love how they do this. Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, I see my picture froze.
Oh, yeah, I guess it did.
It'll catch up in a minute, probably. It might have been whenever you made that connection a minute ago. But
to start your show now, press 1.
Let me see if I can do something
Since it
about it.
appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
Got me back?
Yes, we do. Okay. Now, let's see here if it comes back. Tim, you still with us, sir?
Yes, sir.
No, very
I am.
good.
I just need to stay tight right here.
Yeah,
Hang tight.
that's
I
right.
still have a signal. I had lost your signal, so you have it.
Fantastic.
I heard him that time.
Okay, we got you back live on Facebook. So there we go. We're all back live again.
All right.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah, he does something now. There you go. Now I'm hardwired into the modem, into everything, and they still drop the call. Now, why is that? What the hell is going on?
The powers that be don't want us.
Telling you, man, I've got some electronic curse on me. That's somebody following me around or something. I don't know. I didn't believe that too much until it happens so many times, but it's been pretty crazy lately. It's like every show that I'm on, we spend half the time trying to get it all together, and I don't know. I think this Skype thing's one of the really big problems.
Yeah, well, I know it's like Tim just said. The powers to be. It's unbelievable. Tim, I just moved you a little bit closer there, Tim, so he could hear you better. So we'll keep working on this till we get it right.
I agree with you, Jeff, 100%.
You got people with, everybody's got different equipment and different platforms they're on. And before we had Linux and things like that, so before everybody could use different things to connect, and now they're trying to make everybody use certain programs, and some programs don't agree with certain hardware. I did major in computer information systems first, but I figured I did not want to do that for the rest of my life. I'm so glad I didn't keep going.
Exactly. Exactly right.
Be stuck in a cubicle all day or something? No, I couldn't do that. I would have already gone crazy.
What was that, Tim?
I said that's why I haven't upgraded very much more than what I have. I don't want to try to send out a stronger signal than what I already do right now. Or to communicate much more than what we do here on this format and on our show here. And amongst my friends and my cohorts that I hang around with, we get into conversations, about things, that's going on that we really don't know about, how we're being controlled and all that stuff, but it seems that people don't really care about it. For the most part, everybody's caught up in all the bull crap that the media and what the news can throw at us, nightly news and TV and everything, to distract us, and to make us feel good about ourselves. Think we're doing the right thing,
Right.
And it's a mind control, and see it going on around us constantly.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. Alrighty. Anyway, so getting back to the independent research, Jeff. Now you got this set up pretty decent. Now, what is the actual? I think you mentioned it a little bit there. What is the actual thing that the research center is going to be capable of doing here in the near future?
I had a dream one time, and I don't know if it was foretelling something, but in my dream I saw a campus thing. Maybe that was just a metaphorical thing, but researchers being able to come to us if they need help getting airfare or to get onto a dig or something. But all the independent researchers are so used to doing their research and traveling and things on so little on their own money, and a little bit of help for independent researchers goes a long way when they're not used to getting any help.
Right.
But just this free flow of information and being connected to each other 24 hours a day, and now we're pretty much in every time zone that there's people in. So we've got a guy, and we've got multiple people in Egypt. We've got people in Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, everywhere you can think of, and so we've networked together as one thing. And so many times I see somebody else's research they post, and it fills in one of the blanks of a question that I had on some of my research, and it's just sped up exponentially. The findings, like the pictures I was sending you before the show to kind of see what the different things I've been doing.
Right.
It's everywhere from life that's around the sun all the time, all the way to chemistry, what is the Giza pyramids made of, how old they are, the hard science stuff of it. And a lot of it has been stuff people don't even realize they can use, and so few people try it, that most of these telescopes, satellites, everything we have, 10,000 something satellites above the earth, and no one ever even tries to connect to them. so few people try to use it that we've got massive resources now. But the LiDAR thing, we've made some advances in imaging that's really helped us find some things. Now LiDAR, which means light detection and ranging, we can see a certain depth underground, and using certain filters we can see if there's wood underground or stone and different things. But 15 meter used to be the best there was for a long time, and now we're up to 6 kilometers. So it's almost 4 miles deep we can see. And the earth was smaller back then, the water levels were lower, but people don't realize the amount that there's tons of material that falls on us from space all the time, and it buries those other civilizations. And from the imaging that I've looked at, everywhere we've done LiDAR and looked underground, we found things that we did not expect. And then, like, I was on Lighting the Void with Joe Root, and Dave Cruz called in, and I totally forgot that. I just figured somebody had already got an image inside Point Doom. That people call it the Malibu underwater UFO base or whatever. Well, they never had any closure on it. I had to stop listening, because I just didn't have the time anymore. But Dave asked if I could get an image of Point Doom, and I had already been imaging the thing, and it is not a natural structure. The geologists are trying to call it Sycamore Knoll, and I forgot what they call it. They make up some type of rock ejection or something out of the side, but it's sitting on the old continental shelf, and it's 2,000 feet deep. But 12,000 years ago, which is our recorded history, would have put the water level 400 feet lower. This is sitting 2,000 feet deep under the ocean, and it sits exactly where the North American ice cap ended. So if you were traveling from the south to the north until you hit the North American ice cap, that's exactly where Point Doom is. And if you were traveling from Asia, you would have, if you were just following the ice along, right where the ice ended is where this is. And like that picture I sent you, it had, you can see the 4 canyons, Malibu canyons, that are to the left of it, to the north of it. And that's, you think about how long it took for the Colorado River to dig the Grand Canyon. Well, think about how long it would take for melting glacial ice to dig Malibu Canyon around it. And you can even see behind Point Doom, not only is there a bridge that they constructed going over one of the canyons to the structure next door, and Google has it as just one structure. They have it really skewed. But I just went and got independent imaging I just found a research vessel that had used what's called Bluefin Sonar, another one of the advances we have. It gives us a real HD view of what the sea floor is, and now we've been able to see under the sea floor. And I think, like peeling an onion, we're about to show civilizations that people have forgot about, like the Kurgan civilization. Right. They were giants, but you always have this stereotype of giants being, carrying a club, and they're big and stupid, or they're all like Goliath or whatever. But everything I've seen of the Kurgan, and everything I found of the Kurgan giants and their interaction with civilizations around them, like in Carpathia and ancient Romania, and in those like pre-Greek and pre-Roman civilizations, you see the Kurgan were always dressed like you would see like a Greek senator. Like that's how they're always portrayed, is this high-tech or, advanced civilization, not, some giants running around the woods with clubs. Right. And so I think that's just one of them. I really don't think that we know 90% of the civilizations that have been here. And we're starting to change that. Like we have Muon imaging. Say when you break your ankle, you go into the emergency room, they put that white square tile underneath your leg, and then they put the crosshairs on there and they take a picture. Well, now in muon imaging, they take, muon's a particle, they take those tiles and you go into a pyramid and go down as deep as you can to the lowest point of any structure, or just go dig underground and put these tiles down side by side like you're doing a tile floor, and leave them overnight. Well, all night long, cosmic rays rain down, and as they come down, they go through the pyramid, and the angle that they hit them at and the speed, it gives you a three-dimensional view of every cubic millimeter of it. Even density changes, not just voids, but even density changes in the material, so you can find doors that there's nothing hidden. And they've done one or two pyramids, but they'll eventually get all of them. They take those tiles back and they do set them down like a tile floor, and they have what's called a high-speed microscope, and it goes across the tiles and reads them, and it builds you a three-dimensional picture of the pyramid, and it's just super high resolution, and you can see every little tiny thing in there. And eventually, we're going to be doing things like dropping a sheet of tiles down a hole in the ground and then let the cosmic rays rain down all night. If you can get that thing a couple thousand feet below the surface, and there's many places you can do that, even in the cracks in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, the cosmic rays aren't stopped by that. So you would see, if you got down inside of a crack or a deep place in the earth, it would show you everything that is in between there. So not only LiDAR, but muon give you a high definition look at anything that it can't get. Bluefin Sonar is a new type of sonar. They call it that because it looks kind of like a tuna fish, a big blue torpedo they drop behind the boat, just like the old sonars, but this comes in super high definition. And don't just look at Google Earth, everybody. There's so many different imaging. You can go to any university, and no matter what story they stuck with, you can find their independent imaging, and it's completely different. I found a research vessel that had gone straight up the California coast, getting a high definition view of all those canyons, and it's right outside the naval base. And so I looked at the naval base material, then I looked at the universities like San Diego State University and places that had been using Bluefin Sonar, and you get that high definition view of even the inside of Point Doom. And I sent you that one photo, the one that's green. You have one that's blue, and it shows you the pillars. That's what the boat took as it was going by with the Bluefin Sonar. And I flipped that over into the negative, and because I saw darker spots inside the open, it has all the pillars are symmetrical. They're all exactly the same size. It's absolutely architecture. Right. And that's just the main structure that people know about, shaped like an oval. But no one had ever seen back into it. But if it's 3 miles by like 1.5 miles, it has those support structures, and you can see them going off in the distance like this. Two of them.
Since it appears you're falling back into a
on the image, you can see them get smaller, and they're one next to the other. So you're looking multiple poles, just like a parking garage, underwater, and you see things that looks like pyramids. Not pyramids, statues in front of it.
Right.
And just the size of this thing, we're talking about 2 or 3 NFL stadiums would probably fit inside of one of them. You could probably fit the Metrodome in there 3 times. And that was built right at that point. And now you can see Michael Tellinger, Klaus Donna, all these people from different directions all coming to the same conclusion, where not what we are, but how long human sapien has been here, walking the earth with these other things. But now it's gone back at least 300,000 years, and the image of Point Doom could push it back as far as 1.26 million years. But it was probably somewhere in between, because it appears that it was built during the time that the ice was there, so not before it, because otherwise they would have by chance built something exactly where the ice sheet ended, just south of it. So I think it was built during the time of that ice sheet, so that's between 1.26 million years up to 12,000 BC, and that, you know, that's the Paleocene era at 12,000 years. And you can see, you can clearly see that it's architecture. And those poles that go back inside, just a third pole back, I figured that that's probably about 3/4 of a mile in to the structure. And looking at the structure next door, Google has it as this just kind of a sloping thing, and you can see those pillars, but they're kind of laid down at a 45-degree angle. But if you just look up a Bluefin Sonar image, or just go to the Research Society, actually, we've got a pretty impressive database on there now. Go to the Research Society and click on photos. Go to the eye on the member section and go to photos, and you can see all the stuff we've posted for the last year and a half. But the trade back and forth of research, it has just sped up exponentially. And I've just been going like day to day. Like you said, hey, you know, an hour ago or whatever, you want to do a show? We need to do one. I was like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And you're like, when? Tonight. Okay, let's do it. And while waiting for tomorrow, I have no idea what I'll be doing tomorrow either. But it's been exciting. I'm you know, used to I was the type that I didn't when I was younger. I would just about want to puke and pass out if I knew I had a book report the next day to talk in front of people. And now I guess I've done about 30 shows this year. So
Cool.
You either got to just drop it. But I think being on ground zero helped because I had that image in my head. Like I'm talking to like 12 Superdomes worth of people live trying to get a grasp of that number of 3 million people. And so, yeah, that one I did okay on, you know, and so after that, it kind of didn't have any fear of it after that. But it's hard to hear. It's hard to hear yourself. But lately, since I know I'm probably going to have a lot more radio shows and TV stuff that I already have lined up, I already had to start going back and make myself listen to myself. That's one of the hardest things in the world to do, and break habits, break bad habits, yeah. But the science has moved so fast. That's why the stuff I was sending you, you get Angkor Wat, and that's how all of the megaliths are worldwide. You only see what's above the ground, but also you're not seeing the wood that was there. You're not seeing, like we have the gypsum sheetrock that you pour water on, it disappears. You don't see all those other materials. You're only seeing the stone left back from that time. But I've been studying piezoelectricity, and I'm actually in a crystal shop right now, a mineralogy shop, crystal designs. We have a shop right here in the house. But it's, you know, that's helped me thinking about the piezoelectric effect of it. But looking at all the pyramids, even the Mayan, before history was saying that was their religion, the river that runs under the mountain. But actually, that was it. Those were technical drawings of how to make these things work. They're machines worldwide. In Mexico, they're not tombs. In Belize, they're not tombs. Bosnia, Egypt, Indonesia, everywhere. And history is just a completely different thing than what's taught in schools, which almost no history is even taught anymore.
Right.
It really is this agenda-based thing that's made for cranking out new consumers. And even back to the 80s, they teach you lifestyles of the rich and famous. You measure your success by the most worthless thing you can buy for the most amount of money makes you the most successful person. That's totally insane.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
He spent $12 million on his bathroom. It's gold plated, you know. I mean, it's just silliness. And there's so many people. Now it's just a duality of man. You've got half the people, mainly the people who lived and researched and read before the internet ever came out. So I've been there since the beginning of it. So have you. And some people, old and young, use it to turn their brain off and actually let that programming, and there's a reason why that's called programming, take hold. That those people will get angry in that cognitive dissonance. They will get angry if you shake up their world. And but that's, you know, like I've said it before, Olaf Phillips said a great thing on I believe it was on Ground Zero about Joe's six pack. Most people are content with working their entire life away,
Right.
9 to 5 every day, and you get time to get ready for work and time to recover when you get back. You take your whole life away, and it's all been around making money to buy stuff and being part of that system. And as long as they have their six-pack, and this, like Holof said, the San Francisco 49ers are here, the Dallas Cowboys, the Saints, or LSU, as long as you have that, they don't really care. They're good to go. And that really is, you get the people who are totally keeping up with the Kardashians, and then you have the ones that don't care, Joe Six-Pack, and the other ones are the truth seekers and the truth speakers, and that's a pretty live group right there. It never stops. You see it on the Research Society page every day. And we're open 24 hours a day, and it never stops.
Exactly.
So it's just been, if we weren't making discoveries and advances and all these things, new creations all of the time, it would be easier to step away from it. But I've got some field work coming up here pretty soon, so I'm going to be stepping out into my first archaeology jobs out in the field. I'm excited about that. So,
that's fantastic.
I'm ready to go dig up some of these ancient civilizations and change these textbooks, or at least be a pain in their butt.
Well, that's what we need, though. Yeah, and it's just like Tim and I discussed many times, that with all these new findings, unfortunately, the scientific community out there will not change the history books because they're afraid of losing their social status or their scientific
tenure, funding,
right?
all of it.
That stuff. So it's going to take
think about the professors. Yeah, their textbooks. They write their own textbooks,
Absolutely.
And then you're selling for $200 a piece to 5 classes of 150 people. You got hundreds of thousands of reasons per semester to not ever change.
That's the truth. That's the absolute truth. Yeah, and it's going to take people like you and whoever out there doing the groundwork and making them change it. I mean, they're not going to have much say in it here, hopefully, in the near future. We're going to have to change it all, including their statures, It's just the way it's going to be. People are just thirsty for the truth, and they're not getting it, and they can't get it the way the system is. The system's broken, and we got to fix it. We got to change this. No doubt about it. So
yeah. And you heard, everybody heard people a few years ago, and the younger generation especially said, "Oh, I don't care if I'm being watched. I'm not doing anything wrong or whatever." Well, now they're in their 20s and 30s, or now in the Research Society, very few of them, but some of them, and now they realize that you can see the horrible negative effects that it's had. And Facebook is a good sociological experiment. You've got Zuckerberg, giving our information over. He built a self-fulfilling database.
Yeah.
The CIA, he did all the work for him for the next to forever, because everybody gets online and fills out their own information. And that's why I tell my friends and family we know that we're family. Don't link your whole family up. You don't have to put your boyfriend and girlfriend and your kids and everybody else, because all somebody has to do to control you is to go onto your Facebook page, and they know your kids' names and what school they go to and everything else.
Truth.
So, my address and all that stuff is just total BS. I always keep it that way.
Cool.
But lately, it changed with the Research Society too. Now, like when I was coming out with the Point Doom photos, I was really catching some slack, and I guess about a year and a half ago, right at the beginning of the Research Society, I was doing a lot of stuff on CERN and the Large Hadron Collider, and explaining to people what they're looking for and what they're actually doing and the different power levels, and that their firing schedules were off. And most people don't even think about things like that, but CERN was doing things like they put their firing schedule out, and it says we're going to be firing off at 11 TeV, 11 tera electron volts. But what they were doing was they were putting out what they did last month. So if you ever try to object to anything that they're about to do, you're too late. They did it last month.
Oh, wow.
And whenever I started reporting things like that, I started getting math problems. But I was like, this is funded by 60 nations, the New World Order that John McCain already said kicked in 70 years ago. And out of anger, he spit that out of his mouth. And I was like, man, if that doesn't wake people up right there.
Yeah.
It was right when Trump got elected and people lost their minds. He said, I'm afraid we've got a president that's not going to fit in into this new world order that we've had in place working for the last 70 years. That shows you right there. He's on the Republican and the conservative independent side, and he was totally angry that the person from his party didn't win and spit that out of anger. But that shows you the disconnection from actual citizens. They can't even identify with us.
Ain't that the
He
truth,
spit
man?
that out of his mouth because that's just the regular stuff he's talking about, and that's what I'm sure they were all talking about. But hey, if a monkey wrench in the system's what we need sometimes, it's becoming very Orwellian. You know, you're on camera everywhere, and yeah, if I see a drone flying around my yard, I'm bringing it down.
I don't blame you.
I'm telling you right now.
I don't blame you.
I don't care.
And it's the truth. It's kind of like that movie with Jason Bourne. You know, when you really stop and think about it, you know, they followed him. They seen him on, you know, every camera they had. You know, blah blah blah. And it really makes you wonder. You know, damn, is that really going on out there? You know, and obviously it's got to be. I mean, you know.
Look at the. People need to go check out the movie. You know, I don't think it was even advertised a lot, but it's Eye in the Sky, and it's about a situation. It's over, you know, somewhere in the Middle East, but it shows their little drones that are like the size of a wasp flying inside somebody's house.
Right.
And then them measuring, well, if we drop the JDAM right here, well, it'll only kill this part of the people in the house and everybody within this range of 50%. And it's just gone crazy. Like Obama, he was mass murdering people with the drones. And the truth needs to get out there about things like that should be a big deal. But you got people out that are fighting for Antifa and do not realize the people that are funding it are the fascists, and that they're too tied up in that.
Right.
But I've seen over and over where a drone flies over, hits somebody, then when the medical responders, 20 people show up, a bunch of doctors, TV, they hit them again. So, and there's even a video I'll even show you, and the drone pilot, he's not blowing the whistle on anybody. I guess he just didn't think about what he was saying. He said, we always hit the target and then stay in the area to watch the after effects. Well, they're waiting until people gather up and they're bombing it. You know, they killed 2 people the first time when the first responders show up. And I forgot what the number is. Just in the last month, how many first responders have been killed.
Wow.
And these people aren't terrorists. That you've got, and there was a father and a son and his daughter. A cameraman was actually shot in Iraq by a drone, and he was carrying a camera, like a network-size camera, and just jogging across the street. And when he got up to the curb, he got hit with a bunch of rounds, either coming from a drone or coming from an Apache. And instantly, this van pulls up. The cameraman's crawling, trying to get back to his feet. There was a little boy in the front passenger side seat of the van, and whenever the dad got out to go help the cameraman up off the ground, they got hit again. And I mean, the kids were right there and killed him for just stopping and just being a good guy. And it's gotten out of hand that we're not supposed to be afraid of our government. People forget that a state is a country, and the way that our founding fathers, they wanted this to be 50 nations under one flag.
Right.
And that's how it's supposed to be. That's why state law is supposed to trump federal law. What they're not supposed to be in our life this much, but you see on TV every night and movies, you'll have police, local police at a place, and then the feds will show up and they take over. Well, that's not the way it's supposed to be. The sheriff's supposed to be able to say, get out of my whole parish or county, depending on if you're in Louisiana.
Right.
But yeah, and here, hey, we still got Napoleonic law. That's why we've got parishes and everybody else has got counties. We've still got law that was set up before the United States. But people generally don't care until it involves them. And even then, they're not educated enough about any of the situations to do anything positive about it. Demonstrating and all that, people are weary of the demonstrations. It's not changing any minds. When you demonstrate and you start getting loud and trying to make your point about things, people will tune you out now. Everybody's just weary of it. Because it's all for a false news agency. That's why I don't understand disclosure.
Right.
Disclosure on ETs, disclosure on anything. Our universe is full of life, and I could turn on a camera right now that's pointed at the sun, and within a few minutes show you something that is not supposed to be there, but they're pointed out to the middle of nowhere in space with Hubble. Why don't you just turn Hubble toward the moon? There's a reason why they won't. This because it's covered in stuff from previous civilizations, probably on the Earth, and previous civilizations unknown. And I was in the Lunar Anomaly Research Society and the Mars Research Society before the Independent Research Society. But I just found that every time we got a data dump from like the Curiosity rover, like a Geigerpan, cache dump of photos would come in, the whole group would basically make their coffee, sit down at their computers, and we're digging through photos, from the mass cam, and you get a bunch of photos at once. It doesn't just keep sending one at a time. So basically we're on a treasure hunt for like 3 days. Then I started thinking they're using us to go through these images really quickly to edit the things. Because everything we find, like that one I sent you a picture of, that
right.
It's a building. It's got different sections to it, and it has its own architecture and style to it. It's not something that could be a rock formation. It looks like a ziggurat. And
I was going to ask you about that.
It's all the same thing.
Did that photo actually come from the moon? Is that where that's placed at?
That's at Mars.
Mars. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to show people that. Oh, my gosh.
And, did you know, and that's what I was about to say, it's all connected. Cairo actually means City of Mars. And most people don't know that.
I didn't know
and,
that. Wow.
It means City of Mars. And you see the same things up there. But over the years, if you notice, the face has slowly disappeared with every new image and all the different structures on the moon.
Right.
But there's there's this one place, it looks like the visitor center at the Grand Canyon. It is built at the top of a canyon, looking, on the side of a cliff, and it looks like a spaceship with a bunch of windows, like a flying saucer with a bunch of windows around the outside. It looks like a visitor center at a place you go in the mountains. And it's either a material that is just never aged and it's been there a long time, or it's something that's currently working, but I just have a still image of it. But that stuff is everywhere. And that one picture I sent you that's white, it kind of has, you see reds and greens and stuff. I had to add contrast to it to be able to make any sense of it. Derek Baker, he was sending me pictures and trying to make sense of it, but they jumble up everything. And that's why I said it looks like they used the same camera that Abraham Lincoln got his portrait done with to take pictures of the moon.
Right.
It's only 250,000 miles away, and you got people sticking their cameras out the door and getting better shots than they did from from the rovers and things like that. But think about this. Apollo and like Apollo 8 went, and they had missions before that orbited the moon, and they said, his exact words, dilapidated bridges that are going across a chasm that reminds me of the Grand Canyon, then this castle type thing. And so they knew that ahead of time. Well, and you even see where Buzz Aldrin and Armstrong went over where they were going to land, and I think they even said it on the radio at that time. There were other things there at that location, and they were like, well, let's go a little bit further, and they landed, they put them where they thought there would be nothing, but still in the background. That's that other photo I sent you. Richard Hoagland has one, but it's from a different angle, and they call it the castle. And if you look, that's that green and red tinted picture I sent you. It's like in the infrared spectrum.
Yes.
But you can see the wall that goes along it. That's that 6 mile tall glass dome that looks like maybe a meteor or something has gone through the roof of it, because you can see a hole in the top of it. But all these huge structures. But think about this. After Apollo 17 and all of them, the next time that anything was sent to the moon, it was not NASA. It was the Department of Defense sent the Clementine orbiter, and doing things like nuking stuff on the moon. It's hard to explain things like that, so they kind of don't talk about it. That's a pretty big deal. But they're doing everything they can to hide it, and I'm one of those people, like, I don't care what the truth is either way, whether there is life out there or isn't, or if our history's 12,000 years or 1,000,000 years. There's no answer I want it to be. I just test and study, and whatever the data tells me, I form an hypothesis from that. Because for a long time it's just been like a theory contest, and whoever is the bigger name at the bigger university, that's what they're going to go with. Right. And hopefully we're entering a new time right here. We're empowering ourselves.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, what do you think, Jim? Jim, you have anything to add to that, or?
Well, I've been studying Richard C. Hoagland. I've been watching all of his lectures and his presentations about stuff on the moon, and I am in a conclusion that everything he speaks about is the truth.
Yeah.
I believe in him so wholeheartedly because of his knowledge, and if you question what he may talk about, he will in turn prove you to be right with him. You cannot deny what he's speaking to be the truth, and the scientific side of it, and then you see the other side of it, the actual pictures, and then you see
Calvin
the
Ficklin,
that's
Kathy
been going on
Popa,
for years
Carolyn,
and years, and the cover-up that's been going on with NASA
Tammy,
and other government agencies that's been changing. All of our history books are set aside to tell us nothing but lies,
right?
To just usher us along in a certain direction, to make us think that, this is all that way. Well, they explain it this way in this book. This book here tells me that it's this way, and that makes sense. So I believe that, go on my happy little merry way, and everybody is, being ushered along and being sent to the slaughter like lambs, and made just like you said, that they're made to think that things that are important are things that are of value that have absolutely no value. That are valuable as far as the amount of money that you pay for it, but have got little or no significant value in your life.
Right.
That what really makes you, you. And there are us. There are many of us. There are many. I'm finding more and more people are becoming curious, and the intelligent people are breaking away from that programming and that way that we've been raised for the last 70, 80 years, and we're looking for the truth. and the truth is coming out. Whether the powers that be want it to happen or not, the truth will come out. And the more people that become aware, the more the awakening will take effect, and the more the energy will create that surrounding kind of like a force field effect. Not really, but I believe that's what takes. When you get more than one person together, thinking in the same way, that brings about power, and then you get 20, 30, 40, 50,000, 2,000, 50,000, 40,000, or 60,000, 100,000, and then up into 1 million people believing that same way. It gains energy, and you gain a force, and it's a recognizable force, and it cannot be denied, and it can't be simplified, it can't be duplicated, it can't be any kind of a synthetic process made to make that happen. It's all a natural flow of energy that goes out, and we are on the brink of that.
Absolutely,
we are standing on the brink of an awakening, and I'm full of energy and full of just excitement as to what's going to happen and what's going to come about. And I love what you're doing, and I need to find out, Jeff. I need to find out what how to get a hold of your group and stuff, because I have some things that I need to share with you, and some places that I need you to check out in California for the LiDAR imaging, because these are places that I know have got some kind of significant geological presence there.
There you go.
And that's I just can't. Oh man, I'm so excited. I can't. It's hard for me to keep my thoughts going in the right direction and convey what I want to speak here, because I'm so excited. But
Thank you.
To say being like a giddy little schoolgirl, I'm just gonna kind of be quiet and let you take the reins again. And
okay.
Man, I just love hearing what you have to say, man. 100%.
Well, good. Jeff, can you tell the folks, Tim and everybody, where they can find the Independent Research Society and what you guys are looking for and stuff? And
just come to it. If you're typing it on a browser, facebook.com/groups and then Independent Research Society, but anywhere inside Facebook, you can just use the IND and it'll pop it up there first. And now we've got a magazine / news. It's like a video mag, written segments by different people. I think I even talked to you about having a segment.
Yes, absolutely.
And have our own newsreel, because people aren't hearing about the discoveries that are being made, and we've got to get that out into the public in order to get things to change. More people have to know about it, and I tell everybody, don't believe me, check it out yourself, and it is what it is, and it's not what we've been taught, and you can't have a whole planet full of out-of-place artifacts.
Exactly.
I mean, how many does it take before it's history that's out of place? And we've got there, and now there's people, and it's literally out of necessity as things have needed. I built a site a while back, like I was telling you whenever I was on Lighting the Void, and Dave Cruz called in asking about Point Doom. Well, I made a little room called the Truth Mafia, just named it that for a second, just to show them the images I had privately, so the Google monster didn't eat it and get it out. It's all the same thing.
Yep.
That's why I keep it off Facebook. My computer never, ever has been connected to the internet. It stays disconnected from it. I transfer data from my phone in other ways. But just getting the truth out there, and it's got to change things. And like you were saying, disclosure from people that have lied to you about every single thing And I don't think anybody, even if they're a Democrat and the person's Democrat on TV, would say, I know that person's telling me the truth 100%. Everyone at least knows a little bit, or they are totally programmed. But out of necessity, people have been wanting the news, and they listen to these shows. A lot of people do just to hear the Discovery news, because it's gonna take it's just confirmation is what you need. And Clyde Lewis says that all the time. It's not going to be through disclosure.
Absolutely.
It's going to be through confirmation. Yeah. But it's going to be these discoveries that we're out there looking at, and we've imaged, and now it's time to go out in the world and plant a flag and dig these things up. And it's going to take. Well, I mean, you've seen it. I've got pictures of high technology where I saw a thermal anomaly down, and I won't say where it is, because anybody that tells you that that's in Antarctica, they did not get the image themselves.
Right.
But it's that huge thing. It's buried in the ice, and it's hundreds of feet under the ice. And it's obviously not anything of our level technology at all. And it's not a coincidence that as our technology advances, we understand more about the ancient world.
Right.
Every time we make a new advance and understand, oh, that's what they were talking about. It's only so many. It's not mythology. Before, everything was written off to mythology or some magic or some.
Right.
Everything was a folk tale until one by one they've been proved to be history and not the giants of the north and all of it. But we've had places like the Smithsonian that have been throwing giant skeletons away as fast as they can get their hands on them.
That's the truth, yeah. Hiding it in the basement. Absolutely. And we talked about that many times. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, or put it on a ship and use it for firing practice for the Navy. I think they did that one time.
Yeah.
And there's just so many things. And the Antifa people and all the people that are programmed do not understand that's fighting for a police state to take away our freedoms. And I was surprised. Just yesterday they did a poll asking people about privacy and about these things, and it was a huge number that didn't care.
Right.
And so now you just see the duality. There's starting to be a separation. The truth seekers are getting more active, and the other ones are going really far the other way. So you're seeing this divide in the middle, but things are advancing really fast. It's just going to be one of those things where we're about to dig up some things unless they find some way to stop us. But when you already have an image of it underground and you get it out there on the internet, there's just no denying it. Because when I use their own, like, go to helioviewer.org, HELIOVIEWER, helioviewer.org. That's a picture of the sun live 24 hours a day. And you can look through SOHO or the Solar Dynamics Observatory, and you can see life around the sun all the time. And then there's these planet-sized life forms of some type that came back in 2012, and most everybody's seen the picture of that, the YouTube of that siphon and think material off the sun.
Right.
And then it takes off, and when it takes off, their explanation was it was a bubble. Well, if it was a bubble, it would have floated off. It wouldn't have kicked up a wake 1,500 miles tall on the sun. Well, that same creature, or like Stanton Friedman says, nuts and bolts craft, came back this July 12th. Two of them did the same exact things. But we always see, like that one thing I sent you that looks like a bird, right, or you can call it an angel or whatever, but those are massive things. But I think there's a lot more life out there than it is. And that's one of the things that I started studying to even get into archaeology was I was looking for references to scientific information, references to frequency and things like that, not just studying morphic genetic resonance, but actually, different frequencies that have different effects. And when I started looking in archaeology, I started finding scientific data everywhere. And when you are looking at it for just what it is, not what it's supposed to be, the story just unfolds for you. A perfect example, like the archaeologists say, okay, you're Inca of descent, you built Machu Picchu, Pumapunku, all this, that was you. And Cusco, Pisac, and they're like, no, we didn't build that. That was here when we came down from North America.
Right, just like
which is Aztlan,
yeah.
which was Aztlan. And the archaeologists say, no, you built it. Yeah. And that just doesn't make any sense. They do the same thing with the Mayans. And this, I think this is a profound statement. George Washington, his first time crossing the Appalachian Mountains into the Ohio River Valley, he said that he thought it was barbaric. Remember, George Washington had seen Philadelphia, Boston. I don't know if he had been to Europe, but he had seen massive, massive buildings. And he had been the president. He had been a general. He had seen large construction sites, entire battlefields. But he said when he crossed them into the Ohio River Valley, he thought it was barbaric that they were destroying, he said, mounds, pyramids, and entire city-states being leveled in the name of clearing the continent of barbarism for our expansion west.
Oh, my goodness.
So, and he had seen some big stuff, and you're like, if it was bigger than anything he had ever seen, and even any archaeological sites, I'm sure he had seen pictures of Greece and the Acropolis and all of that, and the Pantheon, the Parthenon, but he said it was the biggest from Ohio, Missouri, Arkansas, all in there. And Arkansas still has some of the Toltec pyramids, and I'm right here next to Poverty Point. It's not very far away.
Wow.
So if anybody ever wants to see that, I'm in Louisiana, just come down. I'll go with you.
We're going to make it.
And, yeah. And hopefully I'll be out in the field here pretty soon. But there's going to be some finds that right now you can go to the HelioViewer, use their material that they put up in space to look at the life that's around the sun all the time. That's all there is to it. The life is coming from that direction. When you look another direction, you're looking literally into the dark. Looking the other direction, you can clearly see them.
Huh.
Like the one I sent you, it was lit up bright like that. I didn't flip that into the negative or anything. That's just because of the reflection of the sun off of it. So you can very clearly see things that are in orbit around the sun, coming and going, sitting there, and things like the Stargate, like that Thoth talked about in the Book of the Dead, Emerald Tablets. The Sumerians talked about it in Babylon, and all these things. And now that one picture I sent you was a computer-generated mapping of the nodes and the connectors between the nodes or the neurons in our brain. And then the one next to it was the same thing, but it was a picture of the universe. And you put them next to each other, and they're exactly alike. So there might be, we've seen things, 5 or 6 things hovering in orbit, and I can show it to you. A sunspot forms, and one by one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they all go into the sunspot, and then the sunspot closes up. Are they forming it and using it? And then later on, you see a sunspot form, and you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things come out and stop in orbit, and then they take off together. It's controlled. It's fighting against the gravity of the sun, but I don't think the sun's even what we were taught it was. Sound and heat, like convection, it needs a medium to go through, so it might not even be hot until you get close to the sun. Now we know space is not a vacuum; it's close.
Right.
But there's so much material, and we can only our band of vision is so narrow. And out of the entire, from infrared to ultraviolet, we can see about this much of the whole spectrum, and only 3.9% of all the matter in the universe is made up of atoms. Everything else is not electrons or protons and neutrons in the nucleus with electrons going around it. That's how all our atoms are set up.
Right.
96% of the universe is not set up like that. Almost everything, and they call it dark matter. All of it's dark matter, which I think it's all different kinds, but it has the protons and the neutrons and everything together all in the nucleus, but it still has that magnetic field that connects it and separates it, which is what 0-point energy is. It still can become a fabric or a membrane, or it can become something physical. And we're just now understanding that. Like, whenever I was in elementary school, there was solid, liquid, and gas. Even in high school, now there's plasma. And we have just barely begun to understand how plasma works, what it is, so many things. But now I'm starting to understand how the pyramids, not just in Egypt, but worldwide, what these megaliths are and how they work. And I'm starting to get to the point to where I think that I can make some of these things work again. And what they do, we will find that out later. I'm not that far yet, but it will be a major disclosure like that.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
When people see that it's not an ancient tomb, because it was not decorated inside the way all the Egyptian tombs were.
Right.
There's Egyptian stuff from the current day, new history, the 12,000 years. And then there was the older stuff, Abydos and all those places, and the Giza pyramids. They are in pristine condition. And the younger the pyramid, the younger the structure, the worse it is, the more it's falling apart. The newer stuff looks like mud.
Right.
So Imhotep and everything is they call him the architect pharaoh. That was in this pre-established understanding of what history is that they let go. And that's what Zahi Hawass was about. He was trying to keep everything fitting in that story. Well, you got Göbekli Tepe right next door. It's 2,000 years older, so how could the Egyptians been first?
Exactly.
But those things, there's too many out-of-place artifacts.
Yep.
And the only thing that makes sense is that it's wrong. And so that's what we're about. We're rewriting history, because I think it will take that not only for the extraterrestrial life,
right,
in history, but it'll also get people out of this political mindedness that does nothing. If you want to change the world, put down your sandwich board and go read something. Go to another country and look at it for yourself.
Right.
You take the tour. They're going to tell you it's called, and I've been on all these. They tell you it's the temple of the feathered plume serpent. It's some magical god. No, it's actually called the Templo del Hombre Barbado, which means the temple of the bearded man. And there were no bearded men that were Mayans. Like Native Americans, they didn't have beards.
Wow.
But Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkan, Thoth, all of them, they had a description of generally the same. They sounded like the same one, Graham Hancock's builder gods. But you start to see Graham's research, my research, Klaus Dana, all of them have this common thread through them. And right now, all of them have just pushed history back 100,000 years.
Right, right.
And that was from different things. Point Doom, I think, is kind of the nail in the coffin, because now you have a structure that is absolute architecture. It's bigger than anything we have. I think maybe the Great Wall might be the only thing bigger on the planet. But it definitely was formed, and now you have the erosion that shows that it was above water. The canyon was carved around it. So now that is a megalithic discovery. We have these massive things. But if we can get that fact out there and say, this is not Sycamore Knoll, it is not a natural. I mean, how unnatural does something have to look before somebody? But people will believe that when they hear the talking heads on TV tell them that.
Right.
And people just stop listening to the talking heads. Think for yourself. Turn the TV off. Disconnect your cable. You'll be way happier in a year.
Exactly.
You'll get a lot done. I'm telling you.
Jeff, do you have a timeline on that stuff at all? When you think
on Point Doom,
yeah,
or the timeline on when I'm going out.
Well, no, on the Point Doom and stuff like that.
Well,
I mean, does it coincide with what they're actually saying or not? Or you think it's much later?
I formed the hypothesis after, and when you have it built exactly where the North American ice cap ended during the Ice Age, that would have been just like now. We build around utilities and we build where it's convenient to have a civilization around that.
Right.
Now, anybody coming from any different direction for trade would have always stopped at that point because that's where the glaciers started pouring off into the ocean in North America, and everything west of the Rockies was dumping into the ocean right there, and that's what dug Malibu Canyon.
Right.
But you can see in the photos I sent you, just like when you're at a campsite and there's a heavy rain, you dig a little ditch behind your tent uphill so it'll go around your tent, and you can see where they dug all the canyons run down like this, 4 of them, and then one on this side. And then there's one that runs almost at a 90-degree angle to it that makes that water go around it. And that green bridge that I sent you is after, I guess after a lot of melting. Now they have 2 structures next door to each other, and they needed to get to the other one. There's a bridge between the 2 of them.
Right.
And it's not arched like natural. And you got to remember, you've got the biggest waves in the world. That's where the surfing is coming through there. And that bridge is perfect, 90-degree angles. It's like an interstate bridge, and it's not natural in any way. There's nothing supporting it. It doesn't have support columns.
Right.
That's something that we're not even doing today. But it coincides with that 300,000 year history. That's about where I would probably put it, at least because it would take that long for melting ice to dig a canyon that deep.
Right.
And so I let the data tell me what the story is, and that's what more people need to do instead of trying to go out and prove their story. It's been a theory contest for too long, and it's time to put scientific method back into archaeology and not just make stuff up and see who can come up with the most proof to prove their thing. You examine, and the first thing I learned in 7th grade science was, do not test for a certain result. You will get it, and you will disregard everything else and call it an out-of-place artifact.
Right.
And I think that's why the world's just kind of been like an open book to me, because I'm not doing it the usual way. I'm doing it the very simple way. I'm like, it's not like I'm some super genius. I'm looking at what it is and then just saying what it is.
Yeah. There you go.
And that thing had to be formed thousands of years ago. And Point Doom's one of them. Another, look at Indonesia. Indonesia is covered in pyramids that look like they're in Mexico. You can't get any more Aztec-looking. Candi Kethic pyramid, Candi, Candi Kethic,
Right.
Candi Sukha, and Gunung Padang. And these things are along that 28,000 to 40,000 year time whenever we're supposed to be in caves with loincloths on, and clubs. And it doesn't make sense. We're finding, and like me being a metallurgist, that's how I got metallurgical training. Then realized in order for them to make these advanced tools and these things, they had to have metallurgy. So the history books are wrong there.
Right.
And Klaus Donna in the Hidden History of Humanity, I remember this during my training, and I took the training as a metallurgist just because I wanted that, and I thought that's what it took, because I thought they were pouring it, because I said maybe they're carrying a bunch of smaller stones and melting it down and making the big stones of the pyramid here. Well, it turns out the pyramid's actually concrete. They were mixing sodium carbonate, 10%, 30% water, and 60% lime sand.
Oh, wow.
And they were making the material right there.
Yep.
They're making the material right there. And so just using a mass spectrometer and doing the science right, and the first question you ask is, what is it? Literally, what is it made of?
Right.
That tells you a whole bunch of other things. And it tells you a whole bunch of things that are wrong, too. There's just no way to do it the way that they're telling in schools. If it's impossible and they say that it's impossible, it's impossible. And they say, well, what about the obelisk and the stone still sitting in the quarry? And I said, it's still sitting in the quarry.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't get it out. That was New Egypt trying to build it like they thought it was done, like our history books say it was done.
Right. Yep, long time after the fact, yeah. Well, Jeff, I'm sorry to say we're kind of running out of time here. Only got a few minutes left. But I do definitely want to thank you for being with us. We're definitely going to have to do this again. You are just awesome. I love the information you put out there. And folks,
thank you.
Folks, you got to check out the group there, the Independent Research Society. I do post it in the Closer Encounters page, and I'll post it again a few more times here. You got to join it. Check it out. Join it. And if you're
come rewrite history with us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We're rewriting it. I guarantee it.
Absolutely.
Right on.
So
right on,
that's what we're going to do.
Right on, man.
In the meantime, I want everybody to know. I got a couple of things here I want to mention real quick. Some people may or may not know. One of our older admin, when I joined the Ancient Aliens group back a few years ago, James Hagee, he has recently passed away, and I want to send out our condolences to his family. Good man, and he's going to be truly missed.
Yeah, my friend Colby, I just found out Colby Martin passed, and his wife's listening, and she's in our prayers, and now she's in the society too. That's another thing we do. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also,
good guy.
Also tomorrow night, I'm going to try. We have a national or nationwide or worldwide moon observatory. Supposed to be tomorrow night. Now the weather here has not been the greatest. So I wanted to take out my scope and actually put it live feed to it and see if we can get it up and running. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we're going to try it. So keep that in mind. Also, after the show here in just a few minutes, if everybody would like to go to the AA chat, that's going to be open. And they will be doing the Ancient Alien program there. And you guys can join in on that. So that'll be pretty awesome. But other than that, once again, Jeff, thank you very much for being here. Tim?
I had fun.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, Tim. Never heard you. Well, we'll talk online.
Yeah, we're going to have to get that fixed. Yeah. Alrighty. So, in the meantime, I want to say thank you all and everybody who was in the live chat. Awesome group. And everybody's listening in. Thank you very much. In the meantime, please keep your eyes to the skies and have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you, Jeff.
Peace out.
I want to thank you all for listening to Closer Encounters. Please remember to like, follow, and share. And until we meet again, keep your eyes to the skies. Thank you.